Do you ever think back to your hometown or growing up as a child and wonder, is that really how life was? Was life really that great? That's something that me and Mitch want to talk about today in the Hey Brother podcast. And we both grew up in the same small farm town in Coldwater, Ohio, and we want to welcome you guys into our conversation about that. So today we're talking about our hometown, Mercer County, something that got sparked because we just interviewed Ben, who
Ben Hardings
last week, right? Who, is from St. Henry, which is a big rival for any people who know Mercer County.
Yeah, right.
Coldwater and St. Henry being like 4 minutes apart.
Let's start with the fire too, because for anyone that doesn't know, the only difference between Coldwater and St. Henry is 4 miles. That's literally it. It's just a copy and pasted version of it. It's the same town.
Very similar. Coldwater is slightly larger. St. Henry has slightly better drinking water, so to speak.
Don't give him that credit.
Don't give him that credit. But like people know small town rivalries. Like it's something that maybe folks who are tuning in who live in bigger cities don't quite grasp it, but it's like even there, like you got like
crosstown rivalry,
right? Exactly.
It's about the same thing.
Yeah, it's everywhere, and essentially it's probably a similar thing to what we experience as siblings, where we're just so close together that there has to be a rivalry.
Yeah.
Right. And so just having Ben on the podcast is a big win to heal that wound of Coldwater St. Henry rivalry, like a miracle in and of itself that somebody from Coldwater and St. Henry can sit down and have a podcast.
Well, I mean, but not really, because like they all marry each other, right?
Yeah, eventually, right? And it's good, but we joke and poke fun at it. But it is like one of the realities like we grew up in. Like our biggest football rival was St. Henry for whatever, and that was more like a name only rivalry, like where the bigger rivalry was with Marion local, but everyone was.
Well, that was like the powers, but still, I mean, what reigned true for even me when I played, right? We had an 8th grade coach, Greaso, that he's like, the worst you can do in the season is 1 in, I think we only played 8 conference games. So he's like, the worst you can do is 1 in 7.
Yeah.
Because you beat St. Henry.
Yeah. There's just no other option. Yeah. And that's, I love it. I like to bring people into that. Like there's some things about our small hometown that we can bring people into. That's relatable. That's one that's relatable, and I think we can begin to capture it. But it is like something that's borderline ridiculous or crazy how like seriously that rival. Like I think the 50-50 tickets at the St. Henry game. Like,
not St. Henry, the Marion game.
Oh, was it Marion game? That was like $18,000 or higher than
I think it pushed up that high, but I think it when we were seniors, when we were graduating, it kept resetting the record. And my senior year, it set the national record for a 50-50 high school game at like $17,000 or something just stupid. And then it went up the next 2 years after that. But then I think it's mellowed down since then. Mellowed down, still above 10 grand.
Right.
But
somebody's walking away with 10 grand from a high school football
game.
Yeah,
like that's not even the total. Like you're walking away with the 10 grand,
the total sales is like 30.
Athletic boosters are still getting the other, like the same amount.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, and so sports was a huge thing growing up in Mercer County. Yeah. One of the other things that Ben alluded to is like our faith-filled area, and that's like where we kind of want to dive into with today's podcast is like talking about the
narrative, right? I think there's a narrative about Mercer County,
God's country, right?
God's country. The land of the Catholics, right? There's the famous intersection of 119 and 127. You stand in the middle of that road or that intersection. You do a 160 and you can see 7 church steeples. They're all Catholic churches, right?
Yeah.
And everyone just like even leaving it. You talk about how everyone works harder in Mercer County, right? You leave Mercer County and there is truth to that, right? Like
there's like a German worker mentality.
Yeah, and I mean I've experienced that too. And like if you just like you leave the area and if you do what's asked of you at a job, you rise up the ladder like real fast.
Yeah,
it's just like, wait, you come to work every day on time?
That's huge.
Yeah, right. And like that's kind of like if you don't do that, you get fired in Mercer County, right? Like,
Yeah.
But
Right. Yeah.
well, it's not even you get fired. You know, your dad can't fire you. But,
Yeah, if you're working for Pops.
but
Yeah, but there is like a lot of good that comes from Mercer County, and in a lot of ways, you know, I posted a couple weeks ago on Facebook about the blessing of like growing up in Mercer County and the blessing of like going through the Catholic Psych program, and how I want to bring the two together. And I offered like some free consultations at the Maria Stein Shrine just to hear people out and like what they're going through. And I wasn't blowing smoke, right? Like there was a lot of blessings from growing up in Mercer County. Here in this episode of the Hey Brother podcast, we're like, we're gonna challenge the narrative. Was it all blessings? Is like the question that we're asking, because Ben in his story was like, I didn't discover faith until I was outside of Mercer County, until it was not even a Catholic organization. It was Athletes in Action. Is that
something like that?
Yeah, and it's like that's not uncommon. Right.
No,
That's what a lot of people our age at least have experienced.
And that's exactly why it stuck out to me, because like that's my experience too, right? Like I didn't recognize the beauty of the Catholic Church until I left Mercer County. And like I don't know. It's just wrong. It just feels so displaced, right? Because like, how can you call yourself the land of like the great Catholics, right?
Yeah,
great Catholic place, and this is seemingly not that like uncommon, right? Like, pretty high experience of people that. Because I mean, like especially like our generation, I guess it's either you leave and you find God, or you stay and you're walking away from the church, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, there's like a handful of people we can probably name each that have stayed and like have deepened their faith, but
that's it, right? Like even when we go home for Mass, like I mean, there's more people our age at Mass than other places I've been.
Sure,
but still there's.
But
not the number of people that got in my confirmation class going to Mass every Sunday.
80% of the grade isn't there, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so like I just want to like, where's this reality land at, right? Like what do we where are we trying? I'm not just trying to challenge like this thought, but like where's the growth? Like what?
Mm-hmm. What was the quote that Ben had from the bishop? Because I feel like that was like resonating with me when I was like listening to him talk about that. I'm like, because I like challenged that in the episode or the interview. I'm like, why is it different? Like, why is our area, why is America different? Like in the first place when it comes to passing on the faith compared to like he was talking about Africa, because like there was an African bishop.
I don't remember that spot.
Oh, that spot, yeah. Because it's like, what was he saying? He's like he's like, in America, this is what the African bishop was saying, and then Ben was quoting. He's like, in America, they teach the faith and people get smart. In Africa, they know the faith, they know Jesus, and
he was talking about this
resonates with the heart.
Yeah, right. Like with his kids, I remember him saying that. He's like, what I remember him saying is like, I'm not sending my kids to school to like learn about Jesus and be smart. I want to send my kids to school to know Jesus and worship him.
Right. And that's
right. Like that's even where we're at, right?
Yeah.
Where we do everything growing up. We did everything with a Catholic spin on it.
Right.
But there was a great disconnect between doing things
head and the heart. Yeah.
Doing things for the church rather than doing things like because of your love for God, right?
Yeah. And some of that was systematic because like that's what we experienced in CCD or like whatever the case may be. Because you can only learn so much from a Sadly yearbook, which was the curriculum, right? That you open it up and fill in the blanks. It's just like school, but Catholic, right? And it's just like, and people see that now, but some of it was modeling too, right? Mm-hmm. Like in my opinion, like I saw people live life that way where it wasn't like the Catholic thing wasn't just something that you experience. It was just like a title that was added to things, right? And like I'm Catholic, so I do these things. And so not really seeing it lived out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. And when you just falling into the trope that Catholicism is a rule book, right?
Yeah, a rule book, and then it's almost like a consequence of cultural Catholicism, right? Like that, like I don't know, in Mercer County, we can point fingers and be like, those are cultural Catholics when they don't align with our political views, right?
Yeah.
Right. But like when we turn the finger back at ourselves and look at like our own like cultural Catholicism, right? Are we just doing it because that's the culture, right? That's what everyone else does. I don't want to be a part of the 10% who's not Catholic, right? I'm gonna go do what everyone else is doing, and like I know guys still like who go to church who are afraid mom's gonna find out, and they're 30, right?
Yeah.
And that's like when it's like daggers, because it's like there's so much beauty to the church, and I think at the pit of it, it's like it's not a condemnation on Mercer County.
No.
But it's like a sorrow in a sense that like you're missing it. Like you don't see like the beauty that's right before your eyes, and like the depth of it, like the depth of life. Like my life actually has meaning and purpose. Do you know what that's like? like I'm afraid you don't. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration, it can come off a little bit as angst, right? Like at times it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like but really at the heart of it is like this like I want you to see like something deeper here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I'm not gonna go down that road.
Some thoughts, because I mean it is easy to go like down the angsty thoughts route and almost get into like a blame game and like be like,
Sure.
What the heck, like this is, we could blame it on a past generation, and we could blame it on mom and dad or mom and dad's generation or whatever the case may be. But it's like really the thing that we're upset with, at least from my experience, is like just the discordance. It's like there's something so good here.
Yeah,
and
right.
you don't see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's letting good be the enemy of great, right? Like,
yeah,
because like there is a lot of good, and don't get me wrong, like I still feel a little guilty that we're not raising our kids like in Mercer County.
Sure.
Because like it is such a good place to.
It's a great bubble.
Yeah, to do that. Very, very safe. You learn a lot about life, and like I said, there's just skills that you learn along the way. And like I was talking to my wife about this the other day, because like she's also from Coldwater, and I'm like I wonder like how much of growing up I did, like being raised I did, was because of the environment. Not being raised by mom and dad necessarily.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And you got like a couple environments. My psychology brain wants to pick at that because it's like the environment of our siblings, right? Because like I think there's something really good about that, having 5 siblings on Earth, right? And probably Stephanie pulling the weight for all of us.
Yeah,
right. Like honestly, but like that culture is so important of having a big family in and of itself, because it makes up. Like the more members you have of a culture, like the more it makes up for the lack, which there's plenty of it in the culture that we grew up in. But then, and then what you're saying too, like what about like the ecosystem of Coldwater that we lived in, like that definitely made up for some lack in our lives too, where it's easy to fit in.
You get that hardworking mentality, right? Just from existing there,
right? But there's also an edge to that too, which I don't know if it's worth going into that or not. But
I think just one thing I'm thinking about too is like from Ben's interview, he said there's a lot more St. Monica's out there than what you realize.
Yeah,
and like that's kind of like talking about our generation, and like I guess I just wanted to like, while that's true, I want to push back on it a little bit, because it's like well, and this is kind of another reason why I wanted to think about like Mercer County. It's just like, if you did your job like properly and not just try to like shove them away to like CCD, right?
Sure.
If you did your job and help them to learn who Jesus is and like make a relationship with him, then you wouldn't have to be a St. Monica, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm not trying to be like overly contentious about that. I'm just saying like that's the reality. And like if the St. Monica lifestyle is like where you're at and where you need to be, where you just need praying for your kids to come back, but then you need to do that. But like, I don't know. I mean, like, even our parents were on a panel. I don't know if you knew this the other week, but they were on like, how do you keep your kids Catholic? And like,
yeah, I talked to Dad about that.
Yeah,
he's like, what do you think I should say? Like, lead with humility. Like, I don't know what there is to say. Like,
well, I mean, like, yeah, and like, I'm like, why? The real question that I'm having about that is like, why is in this land of great Catholic church steeples, why is that even a question?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just, and like I said, I'm being probably a little over critical and over harsh.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's just out of a place of frustration, right? Because like you can see the good and the true and the beautiful of the Catholic Church when you step away from that place.
Right.
And like, it shouldn't be like that.
Right. That should be where it's most emphasized, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and most lived out. And yeah, I think it's a great challenge. So it's like, why is that a question? I didn't even think about that when I was talking with Dad. I'm like, lead with humility, and like began to reflect on like, why did our family grow up with a Catholic faith? And I think one thing that Mom and Dad did well was that they surrounded us around Catholic people that were outside of Mercer County, in a lot of ways through Catholic family land.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, that's where I first encountered Jesus, was at Catholic family land, and I first fell in love with him when I was in college. Right.
Right. And maybe there's something like gospel here too, right? Like in our own like journeys, like where something about our hometown just doesn't, like, we need to go outside of our hometown to encounter the Lord. But at the same time, it's like, it is too far common of a question of like, why is this, like, passing on the faith such a hard thing to do, when in general, like, all of America, like Ben talked about it, right? Like, all of America kind of struggles with it. But the one place where you think it should be right, where they're actually getting it right, is God's country, but they're not. And like, that question is there, and it's a good challenge, because it's like I want my kids to walk with the faith, and maybe it's simply, or grow up with the faith and like become Catholics, like authentically living in the Catholic faith. Maybe it just wasn't like a question that previous generations wrestled with enough. Maybe it was like a cultural complacency that, like, oh yeah, like, take it for granted, like, yeah, I'm Catholic, and I think that speaks to the culture as a whole in Mercer County, is that it's really easy to take things for granted there.
Yeah. Like,
really, really, really easy.
Yeah.
Because you're blocked off from a lot of shitty things in life. Not everyone. Like, I've got friends who've gone through pretty shitty stuff in Mercer County, and like, everyone to some degree has gone through their own trials and tribulations. But from like a cultural standpoint, when you just look at the culture compared to another culture, like, it hasn't been through much. And I know I say this on the heels of Coldwater, like, going through the experience of the death of one of their high schoolers, a tragic death, and I got to speak to the football team, and it is tragic and it is sad, and like, pray for his soul. But like, I talked to Coach Otten, and he's like, yeah, we had to go through this like 2 or 3 times when he's in Middletown, and it's been this long since, and I'm like, damn.
He wasn't even at Middletown that long.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, most of his career is at Coldwater.
Yeah.
And so, and like, yeah, it's just like, there is such a bubble. And again, like, it's not to diminish or disparage like the death of anyone, right? Like, anytime that happens is tragic. Absolutely. But to look at like how it's so easy to kind of take things for granted.
Yeah, and I just want to like hedge bets a little bit too. It's like, I haven't really experienced Mercer County living for 6 years now.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know the status of things. I know them secondhand, right? Because there's still families there.
Yeah.
But like, and also like, I see like there's a lot of good work. I mean, like, discerning the new evangelization for that area was something like that I did. I wasn't called to that. The guy that was called for it was Jacob Kleinhans.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Shout him out.
He's doing good stuff.
Yeah. He started up the Frisis.
Quaddies.
Quaddies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's really, really evangelizing a group of people our age, really, that probably didn't not evangelize, right? Is that the right word?
Evangelize. Sure. Catechize.
Catechize. Yeah, not catechize, evangelize, right?
Sure.
Because there was an attempt, a weak attempt of catechesis for us, but no attempt of evangelization.
Yeah.
When we were kids.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's good, like you're saying, hedge the bets. It's like there is good things happening.
There's
like,
so many good things.
Yeah.
And I know we're focusing on the negative.
A couple of negatives. We're both like the people pleaser parts are like, well, don't want anyone to get angry with us.
I know,
but it's good.
I don't want them to miss the point, right? Like,
right.
I'm not saying it's a shitty place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost saying the opposite, right? I'm saying it's because it's such a great place. Like, why isn't such great things happening, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is there any part that's in error?
Yeah, right. And like, we're on the overly critical side of it, but because it's like not a problem, but it is a problem. Like when we boil it back down to the faith, it's like there should be more people living out the Catholic faith, like coming from Coldwater. And like setting the world on fire, like or Mercer County, not just Coldwater, like this, because it is got so much spiritual energy and power there, but it feels like it's latent or like lagging behind or like untapped, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's like if we could like maybe Jacob's doing just that, like spark the powdered keg. Is that what it is? The saying. Make a big explosion.
Yeah, right.
like maybe that's happening and like we don't see it, or maybe it's a slow burn. But the frustration is like there's so much of life to be lived, and that's the challenge that if folks are listening from Mercer County that like I want to give is like if this is a challenging like thing to hear that we're saying, great, because like I wanted to challenge you so that way you have a better life.
Yeah.
and like that's the way I work with my clients. We were talking about that beforehand. It's like build a rapport, like we're good, we got relationship, we got trust. Now I want to challenge you to have a better life because I don't want you just to be stuck in the same shitty sins or shame or like patterns that are keeping you trapped from actually engaging in life. Like I don't want that. I don't want you to live in an infantile reality where life's just about partying on the weekends. Like, or it's boiled down to something that has very little weight. I actually want you to engage in the fullness and truth and meaning of life.
Right.
And like, if you're not doing that, then let this be a challenge.
Going to church every Sunday doesn't really mean anything if you don't know who Jesus is, right?
Yeah.
And like, I hope that's not like the case. Like, I hope that's not the experience people have.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid that it is.
Right.
And if I'm wrong, I want to be wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Get in the comments. Tell me everything I'm wrong about.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about it. I want to see the good, right? But and like I said, I've been removed for over 6 years now, and hopefully there's been growth in different aspects of everything, but make me a fool on the internet. Tell me I'm wrong. Show me I'm wrong. And I'll praise God for it.
Yeah.
But like, if the only reason you think I'm wrong is because you're angry because I'm speaking truth, then like let's engage that too, right?
Yeah.
Tell me where there's the most potential for growth.
Yeah.
And like what we can do about it.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that call out. Like both of the people and of yourself. Like if I'm wrong, it's good humility on your part, and I echo it though too. Like if people think anytime in this podcast like what the hell are you talking about, that's wrong, like the invite is to comment below. If commenting isn't your forte, like send me an email, nick@craftitformore.com. We've got fan mail. I'm waiting for the first piece of hate mail, and if that's you who's listening to me right now, like send it, because we want to hear from you, and we're just as susceptible to having blind spots as are the people that we're talking about in Mercer County, right? Mm-hmm. And again, we're talking about minor blemishes.
Yeah.
And we want to be the first to live out, like, I want to move the beam out of my eye rather than the splinter of my brother's eye. And so if there is something to say, I double down on what Mitch is saying, and share it with us in the comments below. One thing I want to kind of turn towards too, with a couple last minutes here, is, how can we encourage folks who are listening to this who aren't from Mercer County, like, to take away something from this? Because like we're speaking from our own experience, like what's relatable on that account, do you think is out there? Maybe there is nothing super relatable. This is an oddly specific episode, but
yeah, right.
yeah.
I mean, I think everything, you just gotta like take this as an analogy, right? For the places that you see it in your own, the way that you're living your own life, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just an appeal to check for blind spots.
Yeah.
And check for what's not adding up, you know?
Right.
Because I mean, like, that's like what I'm harping on, right? It's just like, it shouldn't be that way, but it is.
Yeah.
And so for people that don't have that same experience, it's just like, what in your life didn't add up for you?
Isn't driving, yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really, the blind spot piece is good too, right? Like, how are you checking yourself, looking back and seeing, like, okay, is there something that I've missed, like, growing up? And I think everyone can experience that to some degree, is that, like, when we look back on childhood and growing up in our hometown, wherever that might be, it's really easy to look at it through rose-colored glasses. Because who wants to remember the shitty things about like growing up or about their hometown or even like what kind of seems like in retrospect a blatant reality of like a lot of cultural Catholicism, right? Like I'll say that, like it's so easy to not think about that because, we lived 18 years steeped in that kind of culture, so to speak, where once you get out of it, you can start to see it. And so maybe there are some things that are like worth going back and re-looking at, and like this is like something that you could like hear this and be like a little weary, like is this like some sort of pop psychology thing where we like want to analyze everything and go back and play the blame game and it's all about everyone else's fault and like I'm not taking any credit for my wounds.
We ran away from it, right?
Yeah. No, like me and Mitch are here saying like we could be wrong, right, about everything, and that's we got to own our own stuff when it comes to it. And that's like the very premise of this episode, I guess, is like really looking at that blind spot in our own lives before we go out and like judge others. And that's what we're doing with our own hometown and like wanting to correct a narrative of like, maybe it's not as perfect as what people paint it to be. Cause like there is room to grow. And I think like what was it going with that? And like, it's not pop psychology. This is like us hungry for the truth. And so I'll never tire of encouraging people to look for the truth, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to lead people away from the church. It's going to lead people closer. Like if you're really authentically looking for the truth, it's going to bring you into deeper touch with reality and deeper touch with Christ.
Saint Augustine is my patron saint. And one of my all-time favorite quotes from Augustine is that he who has lost his passion is more lost than someone who is lost in his passions.
Yeah. Which is great. I boiled that down in like a simpler phrase that who was it? One of the professors, Peter Kreeft, I think, who took that and like applied it to addicts. He the same thing, but he like rephrased it. He's like somebody who is an addict is closer to the truth than a mere churchgoer.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're looking for the very best thing in the very worst places. And that's what Augustine's essentially saying.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. To break that open.
Yeah. And it's just, maybe that's, I don't know. I don't know what people can take away from this. I hope it's something.
I hope it's something. Yeah. No, I think it's good. I enjoyed the conversation, if nothing else. So it's good. If you guys have problems with what me and Mitch are saying, again, throw some stuff in the comments or like reach out to me. It doesn't have to be contentious. It can be cordial. You can reach out to me at nick@craftitformore.com. I would love to hear you out and like get your authentic thoughts and opinions. Or if you're struggling with anything, that's what I do. I walk with men to help them get more engaged in life, work through addiction, have better relationships with their wives, their kids. Like I really, really am passionate about helping men become more fully engaged in life, become more fully engaged with who they're called to be. And so you can check out what I do at craftedformore.com. I also work with women and couples as well, but my primary focus is men. But don't let that stop you. If you're a woman who's listening to this, which that means you somehow penetrated the algorithm and you're listening to a men's podcast, great. Like I want to help you too. But my primary focus is to walk with men and help you guys become who God's created you to be. And I'm blessed to have my brother walk with me in that journey as we, live that out here on this podcast. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. God bless.